Today's story was written by Reddit user JaschaE. Keough was resigned to dying. The pirates had destroyed the propulsion system beyond repair with their first shot, and they had even deemed it necessary to destroy the subspace beacon, so unless somebody had picked up the distress signal in the small amount of time the fight had taken place in, this vessel would be their casket. Not that it mattered. A display interrupted their fatalist musings, informing them that an unidentified warship had jumped next to them. "This is human cargo ship Elb, in a diplomatic vessel. Do you need medical assistance?" Keough perked up. Humans? They had spent their early diplomatic career in contact with this young species. Not a warship then. The humans just had a very particular philosophy in shipbuilding, owed to their less than friendly welcome to the galactic stage. The human word for ship was usually translated with warship. Their word for warship had, after review by several scholars, been standardized to be translated with terror. "Greetings. This is Keough of a diplomatic vessel. I am not hurt. Please send urgent subspace communique with my homeworld. My attackers took the brood mother I was tasked with transporting." "Understood. We will dock now. Please be ready to evacuate." They would have been content with the relay of the message, so ransom payments and return could be arranged as fast as possible, but the humans had apparently decided to take them on board. On their screen, the cargo pusher broke apart, unclamping the long array of containers and tanks, leaving the actual ship free to maneuver much faster. Curious. Maybe the humans believed that their vessel was losing atmosphere. Their diagnostics told of no such thing. But as the human saying went, derelicts could not be choosing. So, they were waiting in the airlock as the doors opened, fully suited up and with additional canister of breathable atmosphere, in case the humans needed to deliver their cargo before they could drop them off somewhere that wasn't full of oxygen. To their surprise, the inner door revealed a human that was also suited. Was there something wrong with their ship's environmental systems? Behind them, the docking clamps released, abandoning the stricken vessel. The humans started chittering, and their suit's translator needed a moment to catch up, found traces of the ship leaving the system and plotted a course to follow. They paused. "Excuse my translator, did you just say you wished to pursue my assailants?" "Yes." "Why?" "They took a innate broodmother, the one in your care." Their suit's translator put helpful markers in their vision, explaining that the humans seemed to be concerned about possible damage to their cerebrum. "You would use your cargo craft to pursue an armed vessel to a probably hostile destination in order to retrieve an individual that is unknown to you and is not of your kin?" They waited while the human's translator relayed the question. Maybe their helmet display also flashed an indicator for concern over cerebral damage. The human bared its teeth in a display that they intellectually knew meant joy, but that had always unsettled them. "Yes, humans and innate are quasi-family." It emphasized its point by hooking its forelimbs together. Keough's suit emphasized that the human was still unsure about their mental capacity. The jump drive kicked in, and they followed the human to the bridge, wondering why it would choose friends when they knew from experience that words expressing allies and trade partners were available to them. A human bridge always included more humans than one would expect. Most species would opt for automated systems, artificial intelligence, or integrated biocomputers, but humans were a social species, and so their ships were often impossible for a single individual to control. The human that had welcomed them was apparently the captain, doing an all-encompassing gesture around the room. "This is my crew, all second generation New Varanus. So if you need anything, water, nutrients, a head exam, we will provide whatever we can." "Thank you, Captain and crew. Maybe your intervention can speed up the process of buying back the broodmother. A curious sound filled the bridge. A laughter, as their peripherals informs them. Yes, we are known for our negotiation skills in regards to pirates. Leave it to us. It was baring its teeth again, which hopefully continued to be a good sign. The pilot navigator was poring over their station after every jump, trying to find a trace of the pirate ship's trajectory, and putting them on the same track in inelegant, vertigo-inducing, but extremely time-efficient maneuvers. To the right of the pilot was a human whose apparent purpose it was to control the ship's defensive, and, by extension, offensive capabilities. They were pensive about the end of every jump, but visibly relaxed when no attacks came. The fourth crew member was currently without much to do, as their station normally handled the cargo that was now drifting in the vicinity of their wreck. Os was left to wonder about the odds of being found by not only humans, but by new Varanasi humans. The colony had been the first contact between their species. An innate convoy had jumped into the system as a result of a navigational error and found themselves in the middle of a war. By virtue of being the side not actively firing on the convoy, the innate had taken the human side, saving the colony from certain destruction and rendering aid in the immediate aftermath. So these humans were not more crazy or helpful than normal, they just felt indebted for something the innate had done for their ancestors. This was, of course, still crazy, but no more than human standard. We are gaining on them, the pilot announced. The first couple of jumps were obviously designed to shake anybody coming after them, but the last 5 were en route to a disrupted system known for very limited oversight. Will we reach them before they get there? The captain inquired. Maybe, not sure how long their drive cooldown is. The jump ended and the ship was rocked by an impact. Klaxons sounded. The bridge was bathed in a crimson light. Found them, the human at the weapons console exclaimed excitedly. We sure it's them? Drive signature matches, the pilot chimed in. They also shot at us. I think that indicates hostility. Take us closer then. They jumped again, plotting course. Os pondered what had just happened. They had left jump space, had been shot at by a weapon that disabled their own vessel in one hit, and the humans were not only capable, but also willing to continue. The captain wanted to get closer, and into a hostile system. Os had apparently joined a suicide mission. Granted, a cargo ship's shield was usually stretched out above their entire cargo, so this was a very condensed shield. Then they remembered their few visits to human-controlled ports and how they handled cargo. The front of this ship must have been at least Class 3 armour to account for their roughness. Maybe survival was still on the table. They left jump space to the sight of the pirate's vessel, accelerating hard towards the inner planets. They had seen that they were incapable of outgunning the Elbe, so they hoped to outrun it. Should the Elbe be able to catch up, negotiations would be the next logical step. Os grew hopeful. Your broodmother is in a stasis pod, yes? The captain had turned to Zem. Yes, highest safety for her. Good, the captain turned to the pilot. Bring us into small cold-blooded earth fauna range. The engines of the Elbe had been designed to push considerable mass in front of it. On its own, it was monstrously over-spec'd, and the lead of the pirates shrunk by the second. Os turned to the unoccupied human next to him. My translator seems incapable of translating the range indicator your captain just used. That's a slang term, gecko. The salvage grapplers have so-called gecko pads on them. The animal sticks to anything it wants to. The grapplers stick as well. Thank you. Os's concern grew as they were unable to figure out what the captain was planning. The human next to them spoke up. Captain, the pirates are hailing us. Finally, They had accepted they couldn't shoot or run. Now they had no way out but to negotiate. "How nice of them to say hello," the captain remarked, making no indication of answering the communication. "How long until shield bubbles merge?" they inquired from their crew. "About a minute." Oath did their best impression of a human throat clearing. "Captain, they seem to be willing to negotiate. They are also calling on the assistance of every ally they've got in the system," remarked the human next to them. "They seem to be quite popular around these parts." "Oath," the human addressed them. "These are pirates, hostage takers, and at worst slavers. The Elb can take quite a few hits, but I am not willing to take on every ship in the area if I don't have to. So we will expedite the negotiations, and just assume they agreed to let us aboard to take back your broodmother." There was the showing of teeth again. Oath was sure this one was a threat display, if not one addressed to them. "I thank you for all that you do, Captain. I will leave it to you and quietly observe." They were, after all, a diplomat, and had no choice to do anything but observe in any case. "Thank you." The captain turned forward again. "Shields merge. Gecko distance in 30. Even if they wanted, the pirate ship would now be unable to jump." Their pilot tried several evasive maneuvers but couldn't shake the Elb. "Deploying geckos in 3, 2, 1. Hit." Oath could see the cable bound, hexagonal pads on the view screen. They seemed to have an almost gentle touch. The captain issued orders to align the airlocks and to open that untranslatable door. Had they got some kind of override that would allow them to? Oath watched terrified as a projectile from a defensive cannon ripped the outer hatch from the enemy's vessel. "We're going to collect your broodmother now." The captain left the bridge, taking the idle human with them. As Oath watched the screens, it suddenly clicked. The suits, the question about the stasis chamber, the unwillingness to negotiate. The captain had planned this. They would be witnessing what in wilder military circles was just a rumour, a myth. They witnessed as the captain and their companion pushed out of their airlock, traversing the nothingness between the ships by nothing but their momentum. This was what the humans called boarding action, performed by a civilian crew no less. Oath hoped they would live to tell of this. A plasma cutter and a long metal bar made quick work of the inner hatch. The navigator spoke into the comlink. "Captain, we have several incoming vessels. I am plotting a high-gravity maneuver to shake them. Please confirm the stasis chamber is intact as soon as possible." Oath did not understand, but had a vague idea that this would not be a pleasant thing to experience. With the short message, the captain's helmet camera had started to show a live feed from the enemy ship. Between the loss of atmosphere and the sheer madness of entering a craft this violently, nobody tried to stop the two humans on their way to the cargo hold. "Found the stasis chamber. It's intact. Proceed with evasive maneuver." "Understood. Please find a sturdy starboard wall." "Will do." The Elb and her oversized engines forced the two ships on a course towards a nearby gas giant, even accelerating in the process. Oath looked at the navigator's screen. Either the scale of the course was totally off, or no. They decided these humans would plot a course like that. As if to confirm their darkest suspicion, all the bridge's seating unfolded into board-like structures, including the ones they were sat on. A harness wrapped around and secured them to the board. If they lived to tell of this, their official record might be nominated for an award in mythical writing. The Elb and her captive drove towards the planet, picking up speed before performing something humans called a slingshot. As the apogee of the curve approached, Oath was pressed into their board harder and harder, the gravity generator struggling to compensate. They came from a world with higher gravity than Earth, or New Varanasi, but this was still decidedly unpleasant. Zay briefly wondered about how the pirates would fare. Depending on homeworld, they might be dead. "Huh, that was fun," the navigator exclaimed. Oz could see that the maneuver had damaged the circulatory system of the human. Bright red blood dripping from their nose, an injury that would send other species to the medical facilities. This one wiped off with their sleeve, looking annoyed at the aftermath. Leaving the planet behind, with little chance of any sentient creature willingly following them, the captain and their companion brought the stasis pod over in no time. The stricken pirate vessel was untethered unceremoniously and left to be rescued or salvaged by their pursuers. On a young innate colony world, the populace expected the arrival of a new broodmother to boost their numbers. The ceremony was running late, and there was much tension, even rumours of abduction, so everyone was ecstatic when a ship entered the system, requesting permission to land on the city's centre square to deliver it. Onlookers were astounded, however, when instead of the sleek, elegant innate diplomat vessel, a scratched, beaten and astonishingly dirty human ship landed. Its landing legs cracked the plaza in several places, but its crew and a manic innate diplomat did deliver the broodmother. So, the festivities could start in earnest.